Put a naked human next to almost any large wild animal and the math is grim. A horse leaves us in the dust. A buffalo can fold us like a lawn chair. A leopard climbs better, bites harder, and moves through the dark without snapping a single twig. Even a mid-sized chimp shows up with more strength than we have and zero respect for occupational safety. Take away our clothes, tools, and preparation, then set us beside something with horns and you're not watching an apex predator meet its dinner. You're watching a paperwork mistake. Our skin splits if you look at it wrong. Our claws don't exist. Our fangs are embarrassing. We can't sprint, can't smell, and can't survive a cold night using the cutting-edge technology of having fur. And yet, across most of the planet, animals don't stop to inspect the specks. They hear a human voice and they leave. On African savannas, researchers played recordings near waterholes, not roars, just people talking the way you'd talk in a checkout line. And the animals ran. Elephants, giraffes, hyenas, leopards, antelope, species after species fled ordinary human conversation more readily than the sound of lions. Somehow, "Hey, can you grab that?" is scarier than the king of the jungle. So here's the real question. How did the softest, slowest, least armed large predator on Earth become the one everything else is afraid of? This fear isn't universal. City pigeons let you walk right up. Island animals that never met a land predator have greeted the first humans with a fatal, wide-eyed curiosity, which means no animal was born knowing our soft bodies were full of bad ideas. They figured it out, and what they figured out was stranger than raw strength. A lion is dangerous for what its body can do in the next 4 seconds. A human is dangerous for what its mind, hands, group, and memory might arrange next Tuesday. That gap is the whole story. Picture that first meeting from the animal's side. A herd spots a few upright apes at the edge of open ground. Thin, small-mouthed, weirdly loud, terrible at hiding. Their babies stay helpless so long the whole species looks like it's running behind on a deadline. One ape steps forward. The herd runs. Threat resolved. That's the calculation nearly every prey animal is built on. Predators are expensive. A gazelle doesn't have to kill the lion. It only has to make the chase a bad investment. Open enough distance and the lion quits because a lion can't buy meat with hope, but the upright ape keeps coming. It's slower. It just doesn't stop. It reads the tracks and follows. And here the prey runs into the first thing about us that isn't normal. Not speed. Refusal. We are absurdly good at going a long way. Long legs eat ground. Springy tendons recycle energy. And our bare, sweat-soaked skin is the trick. Most mammals cool off by panting, but panting and hard running fight over the same equipment, so a big animal eventually has to stop and cool down. We don't. We sweat while we move, and under hot, open conditions a hunter can pressure an animal until it overheats, then simply arrive. That's persistence hunting, and it's real, though it wasn't how most hunts happened. People also ambushed, encircled, trapped, and scavenged. The point isn't the marathon, it's what it reveals. Our weakness didn't play by the rules. The antelope entered a foot race. We entered a long bureaucratic process that ended with the antelope receiving several follow-up visits. A tired large animal is still large, and closing the last few feet can turn a great tracking job into a final lesson about horns. So we did something no other predator does. We moved the danger out of our bodies. A sharpened stick only looks primitive if you're standing in a building. To an animal, it's a tooth that comes off. Stone cuts wood, wood carries the point, fiber lashes it together, fire hardens the tip. Every ingredient is ordinary. Assembled, they make a body part no gene had to grow, and our relatives were building carefully engineered spears hundreds of thousands of years ago. A predator's body normally tells prey exactly how close danger has to get. Claws need contact, teeth need contact. A thrown spear rewrites the safe distance. Now the animal can be far stronger and still bleed out from a wound delivered before its strength ever mattered. Our shoulders and flexible waist make us freakish throwers. A chimp can overpower you up close, but it can't put a spear on target from across a clearing. We took the fight we were built to lose and moved it several meters away. Then we moved it into the future. An animal only sees the hunter in front of it. It doesn't see the elder who taught the route, the tracker reading prints, or the group waiting over the ridge. Human cooperation became unusually flexible, roles assigned before the animal even showed up. Some drove the prey, some sealed the escape routes, some waited in ambush. The animal wasn't escaping bodies anymore, it was escaping positions, and that made the landscape itself suspicious. A narrow pass might hold waiting spears. A cliff becomes a weapon if you drive a herd toward it. Mud, snow, pits, and nets strip an animal of its advantages. A mammoth on open ground is a problem. A mammoth stuck in soft earth is a resource. Sometimes the only difference is one remembered patch of ground. Most predators announce their intent. A cat crouches, a wolf pack fans out. We might walk away, circle downwind, come back after dark, or spend 3 days building a thing that does nothing until something steps in the wrong place. Our attack could begin while we appeared to be leaving. A snare is human intention left alone in the forest. A pit is a hunter that doesn't need to breathe. For prey, this broke the oldest rule in the book: watch the predator and you're watching the risk. With us, the predator could go and the risk would stay. Fire cracked it wider. We didn't invent fire, but controlling it turned a force of nature into portable behavior. And at night, a camp of upright shapes standing beside flame became something deeply unnatural. The lion was still stronger. It just had to decide whether the hairless apes were worth catching a burning branch to the face from 3 directions. That's the whole trick of fear. You don't have to be unbeatable. You just have to make finding out too expensive. Here's the move nothing else could match. A genetic adaptation spreads slowly, over generations. A good hunting trick spreads after one demonstration. A deer population might take countless generations to adapt to wolves, but the humans it meets next year could carry a weapon their grandparents never owned. The prey didn't have to understand innovation. It only had to notice that yesterday's safe distance had quietly stopped working. Language multiplied all of it. We could talk about things that weren't there: a herd beyond the hill, a bull that charges instead of fleeing. One hunter makes a mistake, another gets the warning. The animal defeats an individual and educates the species trying to kill it. When a lion fails, it goes hungry. When a human fails, the human comes back with notes, so the premise had a mistake buried in it. Animals didn't fear us despite our weak bodies. They feared us because the weakness was misleading. We're predators whose weapons arrived separately. A tiger is born carrying most of its gear. A human baby is born with almost none of it and spends years downloading the local operating system. And that dependence looks pathetic right up until the download finishes, and one adult inherits thousands of years of experiments without repeating the fatal versions. The spear isn't really outside our biology. Neither is fire, language, or cooperation. A web is part of how a spider hunts. Judging a human without tools is like pulling a spider off its web and congratulating the fly. Animals don't fear philosophy, though. They fear patterns: footsteps on a trail, smoke on the wind, voices after dark, an upright silhouette on a ridge. Each got followed by pursuit or death, often enough that the animals reacting early lived, and the ones that couldn't adjust thinned out. Until the human voice became a weapon without ever being fired. Fear is a calculation, not worship, and we still lose it sometimes. Crocodiles take people at the water's edge. Bears learn to link us with food. Our reputation never thickened our skin. It just made the encounters happen less often. And that's the real payoff. Once wildlife flees before the fight, we get space, water, and food without brawling for it. The weakest-looking predator on Earth decides where far stronger bodies are willing to stand. So come back to that herd watching the first upright apes. It's faster, it runs, the apes track it, it scatters, and other apes are already waiting. A spear crosses the distance that used to mean safety. The wounded animal breaks away, but blood marks the trail. If it turns to fight, they surround it. If night falls, they carry fire. If this hunt fails, they remember the ground. Now look again. The animal isn't facing one weak human, it's facing preserved knowledge, several cooperating minds, shaped wood, broken stone, controlled flame, and tomorrow's revised plan. The body in front of it is only the visible part. That's why we never needed claws. Claws can't be resharpened into a new shape after breakfast. Teeth can't be thrown. Muscle can't lie hidden in a pit for 3 days. A lion can't explain its blown ambush to the lions on the far side of the mountain. We moved predation out of anatomy and into culture, and once that happened, animals didn't need to believe we were the strongest thing out there. They only needed to understand that being strongest had stopped being enough. So when a wild animal bolts from an ordinary human voice, it isn't confusing us with a lion. It's recognizing something a lion never became. A predator that can arrive looking weak, fail without forgetting, kill without touching, and come back as an entirely different problem.